Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Satch, and welcome to another edition of This or That. And what this or that is I ask you a question about something yarny or crochet related, and you give me your answer, your opinion. And remember, I love to read your comments, so please comment down in the notes under the video in that comment section because I love to read them and there are no wrong answers. Okay, are you ready to get started? Well, this week's question has to do with, is it rows or is it rounds? And that sounds like a really silly question, but really, when it comes to crochet, we either crochet in rows or we crochet in the round. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So for most crochet projects, we either crochet back and forth in rows or we crochet in the round. And of course, the granny square, of course, is a little bit different because you're doing rows, then turning and around. So the granny square is not included in this conversation as far as what we're talking about because it's a little bit different of a technique. But when it comes to the basic techniques, we usually crochet back and forth in rows, whether they're short rows or super long rows for blankets, or we crochet in the round. But if I'm going around, does that mean I'm stitching around? And what I mean by that is there are two ways of crocheting basically, okay? So when you crochet back and forth in a row, and again, we're not talking about granny squares, basic crochet techniques, you'll crochet a row, you'll turn your work, and you'll crochet back the other way. So that's a row, okay? Sometimes we'll single crochet or crochet in what we call in the round. And it might go around, but we do join our rows sometimes. For instance, if I was making this in, say, a double crochet, I would not do this in the round. Now, this one is done in single crochets. It's a face cloth. And so you don't join your rows. You just continue in what's called a continuous round. This one's done the same way, only it's larger stitches. And this is our chill pill. I keep him around because sometimes I really do need to chill. Okay, some other examples of when we wouldn't join our rounds could be something like a hat or a cuff on something where we're going around. Because even though we're going around, is it considered a round? Like stitching in the round, or because we're joining our rows, is it considered joining a row? Okay, and that's where some crochet techniques can be a little bit confusing. The reason that I bring this particular subject up is I've had a lot of questions because sometimes we'll be stitching a hat where we're stitching around and joining those rounds together, but I call it a row. So is it technically a row or a round? Well, it's kind of both. And so that's why I don't clarify that it's in the round. If I say that it's stitched in the round, like we talked about on this one, where you don't join, you just go right to that next stitch and you just keep on going and you're increasing around. That's called stitching in the round. When you do a pattern where you're stitching around and you join, say with the slip stitch to the chain 3 and then you chain 3, that's not technically stitching in the round. You are going around. And so I might call it a row. All right. And I've had a lot of questions about that lately because of some of my older videos. I haven't clarified that it was not stitching in the round, even though I'm showing you that we're joining and chaining 2, 3, or whatever that we do. Okay. And so let's get to the question. The real question here that I want to ask you is, because I really just wanted to explain the difference between stitching in a row, even though you're going around, or stitching in the round. Okay? And so our question is this: which do you prefer? Do you prefer to stitch only patterns that are in rows? Or hats, say that are joined, which would be in rows? Or do you just really prefer patterns that are stitched in the round where we don't join, you just go to that next stitch and do the next row? A lot of times the ones that are like that are like this one where they're all in single crochet, or maybe you're making some stuffies like this. And we just kept going till it was the size that we need, and then we just kept stitching around and around. We didn't join, we just kept going until we needed to decrease for the top. Okay? And so which kind of patterns do you really prefer? I've had people tell me, stop making patterns where we have to join. I can't do slip stitches. And a slip stitch basically is just putting your hook in and slipping that loop right over. There's nothing to it really. It just joins things together. And you can't really make a bag, say, that is stitched in double crochets or triples or even half doubles and have it really lay right if you don't do a join. Okay, and so that, that's another thing I just kind of wanted to clarify. All right, so as my mama always said, let's bottom line the question. Do you prefer stitching in the round or in rows? Please answer the question. I want to hear your answers. And again, I read them all. So comment down in that section underneath this video. And again, there are no wrong answers. You may have preferences, and that's fine. But what this does is it helps me in designing patterns to make patterns that you really want to make. If I make a bunch of patterns, but nobody wants to make them, is that fun? No! I want to make patterns that you're going to enjoy stitching up. Patterns that you're going to enjoy giving away or even keeping for yourself. So again, the this and that question is, do you prefer stitching in the round or do you prefer stitching in rows? Again, I will read all your answers, and thank you for watching today, our short this or that question, and I'll see you next week for another edition of This or That. Bye-bye now.